Okay, welcome to class number 25. Yes, sir, 25 classes. We have a lot more ahead of us. We have a lot more classes ahead of us. But that doesn't take away from the fact. That doesn't take away. No quita el hecho de que es igual en inglés. That doesn't take away. Take away is quitar aquí. That doesn't take away from the fact that we're making good progress. We're moving forward at a brisk pace that is to my complete satisfaction. I'm satisfied with your progress and with my progress. I'm pleased with how this course is turning out. I'm pleased with the effort that the students are making. I'm satisfied. Okay? If I weren't satisfied, I would stop the program. And if you weren't satisfied, you would need to tell us, okay? Camera one. All right. Let's continue with the conditional. If I had $10 million, I would buy a very nice house. In fact, I would buy 2 houses. If I had $10 million, I would buy a house in Spain, and I would buy a house in the States. Now, if I had $1 million, I would also buy a new car. I don't know what kind of car I would buy, but if I had $10 million, which I don't, I would buy a nice car, yeah. And if I had $10 million, I would travel more, of course. I wouldn't take only 1 month for vacation. I would take 3 months. If I had $10 million, I would continue working, but I would work my way, not the boss's way. Yeah, I would work independently if I had $10 million. If I had $10 million, I would probably keep it in several different financial instruments. I would invest the money in different types of instruments. I would spread the risk. If I had $10 million, I would invest most of it, maybe 85% of it, and I would keep 15% of it in liquid assets, activos líquidos, in bank deposits, but I would keep the 15%, that's 1.5 million. 15% of $10 million is 1.5 million. So I would put about 1.5 million in different bank accounts in different banks. If I had $10 million, tax-free, toma, after paying taxes, I would invest the other 85% in different types of instruments, in different types of securities, valores. I wouldn't look for the best return. I would look for solid, good products. Okay? If I had $1 million, but I don't. If I knew Spanish perfectly, I would speak like you. If I knew the President of Spain perfectly, I wouldn't try to influence his decision making because I'm not interested in politics. If I knew the President of Spain perfectly, I probably wouldn't ask him any favors except one, all right, which I'm not going to say. If I knew the President of Spain perfectly, I would invite him to dinners from time to time, or ask him to invite me to the Moncloa. If I were the President of Spain, I would lower taxes. If I were the President of Spain, I would cut expenses. If I were the President of Spain, I would invest more in infrastructure. If I were the President of Spain, I would pay less attention to foreign affairs. If I were the President of Spain, I would change the parliament, if possible. If I were the President of Spain, I would seriously look for ways to improve the judiciary and to streamline and dynamize the judicial system. If I were the president of Spain, I would make big changes in the educational system, major changes, a complete overhaul. And it would take me 8 years to do it, but it's necessary. If I were the president of Spain, all right? If I were the president of Spain, but I'm not, okay? If I weren't an English teacher, I would try to be a writer. If I weren't a writer, I would try to be a professional musician. And if I weren't a professional musician, I would be a businessman. And if I weren't a businessman, I would be a manager, a corporate manager. And if I weren't a manager, I would be, I don't know, I would be a travel agent, for example. All right, if I weren't these things, if I weren't. Fijaos de nuevo en la pronunciación. Si yo no fuera, if I weren't, okay? If it were raining right now, I would get wet. If it were snowing right now, I would get cold. If it were hailing right now, I would cover my head. If it were hailing right now, I would cover my head because it's dangerous, okay? If it were 40 degrees centigrade in this room, I would be hot. If it were 10 degrees centigrade in this room, I would be cold. If it were 0 degrees, I would be freezing cold, okay? If English weren't important as a language, if the English language weren't important, I wouldn't be here teaching you. If the English language weren't important, I probably wouldn't be an English teacher. If the English language weren't important, I would have to find another job. If the English language weren't important, Spanish would be more important. If the English language weren't important, probably German or French would be the most important language in the world today. If English didn't exist, I think German would be the most important language. Not Chinese or Spanish, but I think German. If English didn't exist. If the Anglo-Saxon world didn't exist, I think German or Russian would be the first language in the world. If the English-speaking world didn't exist. If Aprende Inglés TV didn't exist, you would have fewer opportunities to improve your English. If this television channel didn't exist, I would invent it again, okay, etc. El condicional es fácil, pero vamos a seguir R que R detrás de esto para que sea cada vez más fácil. See you in a few minutes after our next teacher.
Thank you very much, Richard. My name is Richard, of course, the other Richard, and welcome to the continuation of the review of yesterday's program. We're going to carry on with the second conditional, focusing on the negative. So I'm going to ask you and Susanna, who's with me. Hi, Susanna.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
Good. We're going to carry on asking Susanna and you at home hundreds and hundreds of questions. And I want you all, Susanna included, to answer in the negative. Yeah? Would you come if I invited you? No, I wouldn't come if you invited me, for example. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Bien. Would you go out if it rained?
No, I wouldn't go out if it rained.
If it rained.
If it
Tú no
rained.
lluevas. It rains, okay?
Okay.
Again?
Yes.
Again?
Okay. I wouldn't go out if it rained.
Good. I wouldn't go out if it rained. Fantastic. Would you come if I asked you to? ¿Vendrías
No.
si te lo pidiera?
No, I wouldn't go if you invited me.
She wouldn't go if I invited her. Ok, bien. Yo he dicho come, obviamente ella tiene que decir, y vosotros en casa también, go, ok? I wouldn't go if you invited me. No iría si tú me invitaras, ok? Good. Would you help me if I asked you to?
No, I wouldn't help you if you asked me.
Okay, bien. Bueno, I did ask you to answer in the negative. No, I wouldn't help you if you asked me to. Excellent. Would England win the World Cup if they had a better team?
No, they wouldn't.
Wrong answer. Okay. So no, they wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't win
The World Cup.
the World Cup if they have a better team.
If they had, porque
If
no,
they had.
no tienen un equipo mejor. Okay. If they had, it's hypothetical.
Okay.
No, they wouldn't win the World Cup if they had a better team. Why? Because Spain would win it. No?
Of course.
Maybe. Okay, good. Would you buy a cosmetics company if you had a lot of money?
No, I wouldn't buy a cosmetic company if I had.
Bien.
A
¿Por qué
lot
has
of
dicho
money.
had? ¿Por qué has empleado had? ¿Por qué?
Es hipotético.
Exactamente. Good. No tienes mucho dinero para comprarte una empresa de cosmética, ¿ok? Pero si tuviese, pues tampoco la comprarías. Okay, I wouldn't buy a cosmetics company if I had a lot of money. Okay. Would you watch this program if you spoke perfect English?
No, I wouldn't watch this program if I spoke perfect English.
Good stuff. And at home, no, I wouldn't watch this program if I spoke perfect English. Okay, good stuff. Let's move on to the next point, which is continuing with the second conditional, but focusing on when we use the verb to be in the if clause. Okay, for example, si yo fuera, if I were, siempre decimos were, you remember? I hope so, okay? If I were rich, si fuese rico. If I were there, si estuviera allí, okay? Very easy. Siempre es work para todas las personas gramaticales, okay? If I were, if you were, if he were, if she were, if they were, if quien sea were, okay? So let's carry on with some more questions. Susanna, if you were rich, would you buy a yacht?
If I were rich, I will buy a jet.
I would.
I would buy a jet.
A yacht.
A jet.
Not a jot, a yacht.
A yacht.
A yacht, eso es. If I were rich, I would buy a yacht, okay? If I were rich, si fuera rico, compraría un yate, okay? A yacht en inglés se dice. Okay, if you were the president of Spain, would you invade France? Si fueses la presidenta de España, ¿invadirías a Francia?
If I were the president of Spain,
Of Spain, ¿dónde está Spain? No existe como país. Spain, eso es.
I wouldn't invite
France. Good. Espero que no. If Susana were the president of Spain, she wouldn't invade France. The next one. If it were raining now, would you go outside?
If it was.
If it were.
If it were.
Para todas las personas, incluyendo it. If it were raining. Ahora, si dices was, tampoco pasa nada, porque muchos ingleses y norteamericanos lo dicen. ¿Vale? Es un error más o menos aceptable.
Okay.
If
it
were
raining, I wouldn't go out.
If it were raining, I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't go outside. Good. If this program were more interesting, would you watch it?
If this program were more interesting, I would watch it.
Good. Si ese programa fuese más interesante, yo lo miraría. Okay? If this program were more interesting, I would watch it. ¿Qué hemos aprendido? Que siempre, después de if, empleamos were para cualquier persona, da igual. Siempre if I were, if you were, if he were in the second conditional. Thanks very much.
Okay, question. Would you continue watching this show if you didn't like it? Question. Would you continue, color new, continue. Would you continue watching this program if you had the feeling you weren't progressing? Interesting question. Let's answer the question on the other camera. Would you continue watching? Gerundio después de continue, pero también se admite infinitivo. Would you continue to watch this show si sintieras o pensaras, if you felt, el pasado del verbo to feel, Would you continue watching this show if you felt you weren't progressing? I would recommend that you continue, because progressing in a foreign language is not a perfectly linear or rectilinear sensation. There are ups and downs, altibajos, ups and downs, ups and downs. Esta expresión es la única que donde estas palabras up and down contiene ese al final. Arribas y abajos, literalmente, ups and altibajos. The curve has ups and downs, and there are moments, sometimes 2 months, 3 months, there are moments when you think you're not progressing, and in fact, there are moments when you think you're getting worse, digressing, not progressing. Don't worry, that's normal. That's normal. But the curve continues going up, but it's not a perfect curve, okay? So, would you continue watching this if you felt you weren't progressing? I hope not. Well, I hope you would continue, because it would be a shame. It would be a pity. It would be too bad if you decided to drop out, to withdraw, okay, to give up. It would be too bad. Sería una lástima, en mi opinión. It would be too bad, in my opinion, if you threw in the towel. Tira la toalla. If you threw in. Porque el entrenador del boxeador tira la toalla para adentro del cuadrilátero cuando se rinde. They throw in the towel. Tira la toalla. So, if you were pessimistic about your chances to learn English, would you throw in the towel? I would recommend that you continue if you have time. If you had more free time, would you study English more? Would you watch this program more often on the internet or on TV if you had more time, more free time? Would you study English more if you were unemployed? Are you employed or unemployed? You're employed, okay. Would you spend more time with English if you were unemployed? Would you look for a job if you lost your current job? Would you look for a job if you lost your present job or current job? All right. Would you change the channel if you didn't understand me? Would you change the channel if you didn't like this show? Would you change the channel if you didn't speak any English? It's interesting. Aprende Inglés TV, this TV station, has been operating for almost 2 years. And several people have told me that they watch it often and that they don't speak any English. They simply enjoy watching certain programs and certain teachers because of the personality they emanate. But the other person doesn't speak any English. They just look at the hands, look at the face, and listen to the voice, and they like it. Strange. I suppose there are people for everything. Now, would you stay in Spain if the economic situation got worse? Would you stay in Spain or emigrate if the gross domestic product fell 10%? Would you stay in Spain and immigrate? Would you stay in Spain or immigrate if you couldn't find a new job after 3 years? Would you stay in Spain if there were a revolution? Would you stay in Spain if the climate became 5 degrees colder? Would you stay in Spain if the climate became 5 degrees hotter? Would you move north to France or Belgium or the Netherlands? And would you move to another city if you had a good offer from that city? Would you stay in the city where you live now, even if you had a good offer from another city? Would you buy a new car if your current car started having chronic problems? Would you rent a car if you flew to Rome or to Italy for a 10-day visit? Would you rent a car? Would you rent a car if you flew to Chicago to spend 20 days in the American Midwest? Would you rent a car if you flew to Beijing to spend 20 days in China, would you rent a car or would you use local public transport? What would you do? And what would you do? What would you do if you won the Christmas lottery? Would you celebrate? Would you tell other people or would you keep it quiet? What would you do if you won 50 million euros in the lottery? Would you tell other people or would you keep it quiet? Huh? What would you do if you won so much money or that much money? Me, I would try to keep it quiet. I would try not to tell other people if I won 50 million euros. If I offered you a free trip to New York by plane for a 5-day stay in a 4-star hotel, would you go? If you had the opportunity to go to New York for free for 1 week, would you be able to do it? Would your boss let you take a week off? If you won a trip for 5 days to Portugal, all expenses paid, would you take it or would you give it to another person? If you knew how to play the clarinet like Benny Goodman, would you become a professional musician? If you knew how to play chess like Garry Kasparov, would you try to become a chess master? If you knew how to play the guitar like Paco de Lucia, would you try to become a professional golfer? A golfer, que digo yo, guitarist. If you could play golf, que era la próxima pregunta, like Sergio Garcia, would you try to become a professional golfer? If you could teach English like me, would you leave your current job and become an English teacher? No lo hagas. All right? Okay. Time for a station break for our sponsors, and then I'll be right back. Okay. I have only 1 minute. Really, it's not easy to do something productive in only 1 minute. If you had only 1 minute to change a person's attitude or to motivate somebody or to teach something productive, what would you do? 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 If you had, what would? If you had, what would you do? If you had only 1 minute to produce a miracle, what would you do? If you had only 1 minute to make a strong and positive impression on somebody else, how would you do it? What would you do and how would you do it? And if you only had 10 seconds, how would you say goodbye? Well, I would say, goodbye, see you later, after the next teacher.
Thank you, Richard. Hello, everyone. I'm your teacher, Natasha, and today I'm here with a new student, not that new. I'm sure you know her from other classes, and her name is Diana. But before we go to Diana, I think she doesn't know how we say hello in Australia. Let's check if she does. Do you know how we say hello in Australia?
No, I don't.
No, we say g'day.
G'day.
Yeah, and my rule in this class is that this is as if it were Australia. Okay, this class is Australia. So here we have to say hello in Australian English. Okay, so from now on, desde ahora, from now on, you have to say g'day.
Okay.
Do you agree?
G'day. Yeah.
Okay, g'day. Okay, so let's start again. Okay. Hi, how are you?
G'day. Hi.
G'day. Yes,
Yeah,
very
all
good.
right.
Okay, we're in Australia. How are you today?
Fine. Thank you.
Fine. Are you ready to start the class?
Yes, of course.
Are you excited?
Yes. I am.
Are you really, really excited?
Well, I'm excited.
Are you really excited? Well, yeah, sorry. Okay, no, next class you should be really, really excited, okay? All right, you at home, as you know, we're going to work a lot today, okay, because we're going to review everything Richard explained to you, okay? We're going to work a lot on the second conditional in the interrogative because it's something a lot of people have problems with, okay? So we're going to start straight away, enseguida, okay? Remember, I'm going to say a sentence in Spanish and then you have to translate this sentence into English, always speaking out loud and concentrating on your pronunciation, okay? All right, let's start. Diana, you ready?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to ask you again. Are you excited?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, first sentence. First sentence. ¿Te lo comprarías si fuese más barato?
Would you buy it if it were cheaper?
Very good. Would you buy it if it were cheaper? Okay, very, very important. She almost made this mistake, but then she remembered, okay? Remember that in the second conditional, the verb to be is always were. Always, always, always were. Even if it's the third person. So, would you buy it if it were cheaper? Okay, never was, okay? Would you buy it if it were cheaper? Repeat at home. Very good. Would you buy it if it were cheaper? Very good. Okay, the next one is for you, Diana, as well, okay? ¿Harías más deporte si tuvieras más tiempo?
Would you do more sport if you had more time?
Very good, perfect. Would you do more sport if you had more time? Okay, the next sentence is for you at home, okay? Ready? Si hubiese mucho ruido, ¿podrías concentrarte? Very good. If there were a lot of noise, would you be able to concentrate? If there were a lot of noise, would you be able to concentrate? Diana, would you be able to concentrate if there were a lot of noise?
No, if there were a lot of noise, I wouldn't be able to concentrate.
Very good. She gets everything perfect. I can tell she studies before this class, okay? The next one is for you, okay? ¿Lo vaciaría si estuviera lleno?
Would you empty it if it were full?
Very good. Would you empty it if it were full? Would you empty it if it were full? Repeat at home. Very good. Would you empty it if it were full? Very good. Okay, the next one is for you, okay? Si ella insistiera, ¿esperarías? Very good. If she insisted, would you wait for her? Remember that wait always goes with the preposition for. So if she insisted, would you wait for her? One more time. Very good. If she insisted, would you wait for her? Okay, the next one is for Diana. You ready?
Yes.
¿Lo harías si estuvieras en mi lugar?
Would you do it if you were in my position?
Okay, instead of my position, what do we tend to say in English? If you were in my shoes.
Okay.
Okay, if you were in my shoes, si estuvieras en mis zapatos. Okay, if you were in my shoes. Okay, so let's get Diana to repeat.
Would you do it if you were in my shoes?
One more time and repeat out loud so I can hear you.
Would you do it if you were in my shoes?
Very good. You have to speak out loud because you're saying it perfectly, so you should be confident with what you're saying, okay? Would you do it if you were in my shoes? Okay, the next one is for you at home, okay? Si tú le dejaras, ¿lo entendería? Very good. If you left him, would he understand? If you left him, would he understand? Very good, okay? The next one is for you. Are you ready? ¿Probarías el pastel si no estuvieras a régimen?
Would you try the cake if you went
¿A régimen?
on a diet?
On a diet.
On a
Yeah,
diet.
on a diet. Very good, okay? Estar a régimen, to be on a diet, okay? To be on a diet. So let's get Diana to repeat.
Would you try the cake if you went on a diet?
Very good pronunciation. If you weren't on a trial. If you weren't on a diet, okay? Remember that weren't is one syllable. Never, ever, ever, weren't, okay? Weren't, one syllable. Weren't, okay? All right, the next one is for you, Diana, as well, okay? Si los vecinos se quejaran, ¿bajarías el volumen?
If their neighborhoods
No, si los vecinos.
if the
Neighbors.
if the neighbors yes if the neighbors complained, would you turn down
The
the volume?
Very good. So go again.
If the neighbors complained, will you turn down the volume?
One more time and more confident.
If the neighbors complain, would you turn
If the neighbors complained,
If the neighbors complained, would you turn down the volume?
volume. Volume. Like you, de tú, you, volume. Okay? Volume. Okay? Remember that the accent goes on the O. Volume. Okay? Not like in Spanish where you say volumen. No, this is volume. Okay? So repeat once more at home. Okay? Would you, if the neighbors complained, would you turn down the volume? Repeat. Very good. If the neighbors complained, would you turn down the volume? Let's get Diana to repeat.
If the neighbors complained, will you turn down the volume?
Volume. Repeat. Volume.
Volume.
Again.
If the neighbors
No, just volume.
volume.
Again.
Volume.
Again?
Volume.
Again?
Volume.
Very good, okay? She's going to be dreaming about volume, okay? But volume, okay. The next one is for you at home, okay? Si yo necesitara dinero, ¿me lo dejarías? Very good. This was tricky, okay? If I needed money, would you lend it to me? If I needed money, would you lend it to me? Okay, very good. You got that one right, okay? So repeat that sentence.
If you needed money,
If I needed.
if I needed money, would you lend it to me?
Okay, this is a tongue twister a little bit, okay? Lend it to me.
Yeah, if I needed money, would you let it to me?
Lend.
Lend it to me?
Lend it to me. Don't worry, it's a tongue twister, okay?
Yes.
Again?
If I needed money, would you lend it to me?
Okay, now be careful, very good, but be careful with the pronunciation of would, okay? We need to say that w sound, okay? It shouldn't ever be a G sound like good or never a V sound either, would, okay? It has to be would, just like you say huevo, that sound, huevo, would, okay? Huevo would, so repeat.
If I needed money, would you lend it to me?
Very good. If I needed money, would you lend it to me? Would you lend me money if I needed it?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so full sentence, no cheating.
If you needed money, I would lend it to you.
Very good. Thank you very much, okay?
You're welcome.
If I needed money, she would lend it to me, okay? Thank you very much, and remember to keep on studying. And then you at home, the same thing. Study as much as possible for the next class, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
All right, welcome back. Now, you know, I would continue teaching this program even if they didn't pay me. Yeah, even if they didn't pay me. But they do. But they pay me for it, thank God. All right, now, do you enjoy this class? Are you improving? Okay, I'm glad. All right, let's move to camera number 1. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, now, it's raining outside. It's raining cats and dogs. It's pouring down rain. A cántaros, chuzos de punta, como decís aquí. It's raining cats and dogs, gatos y perros. So, siempre gatos primero, eh? We never say it's raining dogs and cats. It's raining cats and dogs. It's raining a lot. And my car is about 300 meters away, and there's no protection. So, I need, after this class, I need to come back and give a second class for a different show. And I need a book I have in the trunk of my car. There's a book I need in the trunk of my car. Un británico diría, I need a book in the boot of my car. El maletero decimos nosotros decimos baúl, trunk, escrito trunk. Los británicos dicen bota, no sé por qué, the boot. Okay, but I need something that I have in my car. And so after this class, I'm going to walk or run to my car, push the little button for the trunk, it will open, get the book, close the trunk, turn around and run back to this building. Okay, run back. Estoy usando el verbo de locomoción, en este caso correr, run, porque en inglés, a diferencia del castellano, nosotros usamos el verbo de locomoción y luego la preposición. Run to the car, run from the car. Okay? In Spanish, usually not. You say iré corriendo y volveré corriendo. You say ir, venir, volver, regresar y luego el verbo de locomoción para describir cómo vuelves o cómo vas. Okay? Voy a ir andando. I'm going to walk. O sea, voy a caminar. Caminé hasta la playa. I walked to the beach. In Spanish, fui a la playa andando, caminando. Okay. So after this class, the first thing I'm going to do is go to my car. I'm going to walk to my car if it's not raining anymore. And I'm going to run to my car if it's raining. But you know, I wonder, if I walk to my car, it's 300 meters, it'll take me 1 minute. No, it'll take me more. It'll take me 2 minutes to get there. It'll take me 30 seconds to open the trunk and get the book and close the trunk. And it'll take me another 2 minutes to walk back. Okay? That's 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, if I run to my car, it'll take me, it will. Coges la palabra little, pequeño, le quitas la primera L y tienes it'll. Así se pronuncia la contracción de it will. If I run to the car, it'll take me 30 seconds, another 30 seconds to get the car, to open the trunk, get the book, close the trunk, and turn around, and another 30 seconds to run back. So it'll take me a minute and a half. Instead of 4.5 minutes, it'll take me a minute and a half. Let me ask you a question. If it's raining cats and dogs, if it's raining a lot, would I get wetter in one case or in the other? What do you think? Or would it be the same? Would it make any difference or not? Our tendency is to run when it starts raining hard. But my question is, do we get wetter if we walk or if we run? I don't know. But nevertheless, no obstante, nevertheless, todo junto, nevertheless, after this class, I'm going to go for my book. Now, I'm going to go even though it's raining, okay? It's raining. I can hear it on the roof of this building. You can't hear it through this microphone, but I can hear it, and Maria can hear it, and the sound and technicians and mixers, they can hear it. It's raining cats and dogs outside, but I'm going to go to my car to get that book even though it's raining. Ahora, escuchad las otras dos alternativas que hemos visto hace una semana más o menos. I'm going to go to my car in spite of the fact that, that no es opcional, es obligatorio. I'm going to go to my car in spite of the fact that it's raining, cats and dogs. I'm going to go to the car to get the book in spite of the fact that it's raining. I'm going to go to the car despite the fact that it's raining. Even though it's raining, I'm going to go to the car. Yes. All right? I'm going to go to the car because I desperately need that book. I can't do my next class without that book. And I forgot to bring it when I came for this class. I forgot to bring it and put it under the table here for the next class. So in spite of the fact that it's raining, a pesar de la lluvia, in spite of the rain, a pesar de que está lloviendo, in spite of the fact that it's raining, I'm going to go to the car, despite the rain, in spite of the rain, despite the fact that it's raining, in spite of the fact that it's raining, even though it's raining. Cinco formas de decir, pues lo mismo. All right. Now, I think it stopped. Yeah, it stopped raining. It's not raining anymore. I can't hear the rain. The raindrops are falling on my head. No, not true. It's not raining anymore. But, so, maybe I'll be lucky, and by the time we finish this class in a few minutes, I'll have time to go out to the car and the sky will be okay. It won't be raining. And I won't get wet. I won't. Fijaos cómo cierra esa cara oscura. I won't get wet. So, but it seems to me that it's not raining anymore. But even if it starts raining again, even if it starts raining again, I'll still go to the car to get the book, even if it starts raining again, okay? And even if I get soaking wet. To get wet is mojarse. To get soaking wet is empaparse. Calarse hasta los huesos, okay? To get soaking wet. To soak, escrito soak. Como jabón, si es que se escribe soap y se produce soap, quitas la P final, le pones una K y tienes dejar o poner en remojo, to soak. Y también calarse hasta los huesos, to be, estar ya puesto en remojo, literalmente. To be, estar empapado. To be soaked, okay? But I'll let you know after the next teacher my final decision.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah, but you already know that because you've been following us for a very long time and improving your English at the same time. Okay, we're going to do another practice session here. I hope you're ready, but let's say hello to my student for today, David. Hi, David.
Hello, how are you?
Great, how are you doing?
I feel great, thank you.
Good, all right, that's what I need. I want energy in my classes. Okay, so I want you to be excited to be here and improving your English, just like David. All right, we're going to start with some vocabulary. Now, you know how to do this vocabulary. I don't have to tell you. Okay, but I'm going to tell you anyways. So you have to say it out loud en voz alta. So close your windows, lock your doors, tell your neighbors that you have to watch a movie very loud, but I want you to say everything and repeat everything out loud en voz alta and very loudly, okay? And with good pronunciation. Number 1, dominio.
Master.
Mastery.
Mastering.
Yeah, mastery.
Mastery.
Yes, with a
Okay.
Y at the end. Repeat.
Mastery.
Okay, great. Mastery. Mastery. So master with a Y at the end. Mastery. Mastery. Okay, good. Next. En medio.
In the middle.
In the, como en el camino.
Ah.
Quítate del medio.
Let out of the way.
Okay.
In the way.
Yes, in the way, in
the
the
way.
way. Okay, great. So in the way. 3 words, in the way. En medio, in the way. So if I say quítate del medio is get out of the way, right? Because you're in the way. Okay, so en medio, in the way, 3 words. Next we have curriculum vitae.
CV or resume.
Good, repeat.
CV or resume.
Okay, good. We have two possibilities here. We have CV, las letras C, V, okay, in capital letters, in mayúscula. CV, or también coloquialmente we say resume, resume. So pay attention here to the pronunciation because I hear this word machacada, right? Pronounced incorrectly constantly. So the correct pronunciation is resume. David, let me hear you.
Resume.
Okay, good. Resume.
Resume.
Okay, great. Resume. Resume. Next, we have bien tratado.
Well treated.
Okay, great. Very good. Well treated. Well treated. 2 words with a hyphen. Well, hyphen. Treated. Well treated. And lastly, we have gigante.
Giant.
Okay, good. Repeat. Let's hear it again.
Giant.
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 Okay, very good. Great. So let me hear you at home say this. Giant. 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 Wow, that house is just giant. It's a giant house. Okay, let's continue with our review. We're going to look at despite, in spite of, despite the fact that, in spite of the fact that. So I want you to use despite. Okay, después, despite of the fact that.
Okay.
Después, in spite of. Y después, in spite of the fact that. Okay, so let me give you a sentence. The weather was bad, but he went anyway. Okay, so.
He went despite the weather was bad.
Despite the bad weather.
Okay.
Yes, repeat again.
He went despite the bad weather.
Okay, muy bien. So after despite, we have un sustantivo, right? Bad weather, o sea, weather, right? So despite the bad weather. So he went despite the bad weather, right? So let's repeat the sentence.
He went despite the bad weather.
Okay, very good. Now, I want you to say the same thing with despite the fact that. Ahora sí con frase completa después.
Okay. He went despite the fact that the weather was bad.
Okay, muy bien. Very good. Ahora sí, we have a complete sentence. Despite the fact that, a pesar de que, right, el tiempo estaba mal, or hacía mal tiempo, right? Okay, so he went despite the fact that the weather was bad. Ahora now with in spite of. In spite of, otra vez más, sustantivo.
Okay.
The same sentence, sí.
He went in spite of the bad weather.
Okay, muy bien. He went in spite of, conecta, in spite of. Let me hear you say in spite of.
In spite of.
Okay, muy bien. So remember, connect those 3 words de pronunciación. In spite of. He went in spite of the bad weather. Okay, now, in spite of the fact that, frase
Okay.
completa.
He went in spite of the fact that the weather was bad.
Okay, very good. Great. So what do we have here again? After despite plus noun. Okay? Despite the fact that plus frase completa, plus a complete sentence. Y después we have in spite of plus noun. Okay? And in spite of the fact that plus a complete sentence. All right, so, and you're saying the same thing. Las
Okay.
cuatro frases, the 4 sentences, you're saying the same thing, básicamente. Okay, next example. I had a cold, but I went to class anyway.
I went to class in spite of I had a cold.
Oh, in spite of, más sustantivo.
Okay. I went to class in spite of the cold.
My cold.
My cold.
Yes, eso es. Good. So, I went to class in spite of my cold. Okay, so let's now use in spite of the fact that, más frase completa.
Okay. I went to class in spite of the fact that I had a cold.
Eso es. Perfect. Bien. Now con despite plus noun.
I went to class despite of the cold.
Despite.
Of my cold.
No hay
No.
preposición después.
Okay. I went to class despite my cold.
Okay, muy bien. So cuidado aquí, be very, very careful. Ojo, ojo, ojo. After despite, we don't put a preposition. I know it's a very strong urge and it's a lot of temptation, but resist the temptation. Okay, so please don't say despite of, no existe. In spite of, sí, pero despite of, nunca, 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 nunca. So never, never, never. So I went to class despite my cold, never despite of. I went to class despite the fact that I had a cold. See, I went to class in spite of my cold. And finally, I went to class in spite of the fact that, frase completa, I had a cold. Okay, bien. Let's do one more example. It was very hot, but everyone had a good time anyway.
Everyone had a good time. Sorry?
It was very hot.
Okay. It was
everyone
had a good time despite
the heat.
Despite the heat.
Okay, eso es, muy bien. Despite the heat, a pesar del calor. Okay? And then everyone had a good time despite the fact that it was hot. Everyone had a good time in spite of the heat. Y everyone had a good time in spite of the fact that it was hot. Okay, so keep practicing, and I'll see you next time. Back to Richard. Bye-bye.
All right. Welcome back. I just finished telling Maria a joke, okay? And she's laughing, I'm laughing. I hope you're laughing too, because I need happy students. Happy students make students who progress. Unhappy students don't progress. And I'm giving the best I can. I consider myself a good teacher, and I always try the best I can. I always give my 100%. And I think the rest of the colleagues, the rest of the teachers who are working with me on this project are also giving the best they can. So we would ask you, in return, a cambio, se dice en inglés, in return, o sea, en devolución. In return, we would ask you to please do the best you can. Because when you do the best you can, you're never disappointed. Even if the result is not the best, you know you did your best. All right. See you tomorrow.